I've kicked up a bit of a shitstorm. One little phrase, don't ask how I got it, has made me the most hated man in the gaming community. Don't worry, I assure you that if I've cried myself to sleep even once since I first posted the Hong Kong 97 video, it has nothing to do with all of the name calling and insults. Oh, how could they have discontinued cheesecake pudding? I still care about each and every one of you, my dear and beloved friends. And all the answers will come in good time. That being said, in today's episode I would like to try to get a little deeper into the mind of the man who made that game, Kowloon Kurosawa. At the end of the Hong Kong 97 video, I added a little teaser in which I revealed I had found another game that he had been involved with. That game is this, Suke Police, a simple 2000 title for the PlayStation 2. Oh, a budget title! Who would have guessed? The game has you controlling a female police officer going after a crime syndicate which has claimed a substantial turf in Tokyo by selling a powerful psychotropic drug called pyrogene. The whole game takes place in a cramped little red light district and progresses by beating up a few low-level pimps here and there as you chase after the head of the gang, which generally just takes you back and forth. In what was probably meant to be the main appeal of the game, your character loses clothes as she takes damage, revealing a sexy polygonal body. As the youngsters might say, FAP material. Sorry to kill the build-up, but I'm getting this out of the way right now. This is the worst game I have ever played. Of any generation, of any genre, I have never seen anything so pointless as this game. Okay, Deep Blue might be worse. That one probably didn't even take 15 seconds to realize how bad it was, but at least the music is kinda relaxing. Suke Police doesn't even have music most of the time. The battle system is just non-existent. You can charge up a strong attack and sneak up on enemies, killing them with one hit if you get the distance just right. But if not, it's effectively impossible to get in close enough to an enemy without taking significant damage. And the boss characters, if you could call them that, have no special patterns or anything. I'm literally willing to bet good money that Hong Kong 97 is a better game than this. But I wasn't really expecting anything from the gameplay. The whole point of trying this game out was to find out if there were any thematic similarities to Hong Kong 97, or any of the other crazy stuff that Kurosawa has conjured up. As it turns out, there are. The opening story is told through tabloid-like headlines, which is exactly the same as the imagery he uses to sell his books, which tend to look like shrunken-down tabloids. The story is centered around drugs, a topic most Japanese people shy away from, considering how severe drug offenses are here and how much they've had it pushed down their throats in grade school that even one hit of anything will probably kill you. And as we learned from the back of the picture card for Hong Kong 97, the main character in that game is supposed to be addicted to heroin. Also, a few levels into this game we discover that the drugs are being supplied from the mafia in, you guessed it, Hong Kong. The whole game just screams tasteless. I mean, look at this guy on the cover dressed up in S&M gear. It's something a junior high school student would draw. Well, now you know about the game. It isn't worth a dime, so don't get all hot and bothered about who I bought it from. Not gonna go online, buy up every single copy, and then turn around and try to sell them on eBay for $100 a piece. You wouldn't pay $100 for this game, would you? Moving on. I had said that I wanted to get a few of Kowloon Kurosawa's books if possible, and I did manage to get 3 of them. These are written by the man himself, and these are all compilations of little episodes and things that happened to him while he was traveling, mostly in Southeast Asia. As I had mentioned before, they are written kind of, or the cover at least, is made to look very much like a tabloid. They're really sensational, and they kind of try to appeal to people's lower instincts of interest about, the darker side of things. And on the one hand, I think it's really cool that he does really try to go into the back roads, into real people's life, and not just, follow the standard travel books. That is awesome. On the other hand, these are very much written in a way to kind of play on people's stereotypes that Southeast Asia is this very dirty and lawless place. But what would you expect from the person who made Hong Kong 97? So I have chosen a few little pieces, sentences here and there that I think might demonstrate to you just what kind of stuff he writes about. And I remember when these things arrived, I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to read through all these books. And it did not take very long, actually. I mean, you can just flip through to almost any page, almost any anecdote, and come up with something totally foul, because they're all about crimes and low lives and just things that make you go, oh God, humanity is just horrible. So I'm going to read some of them for you. If you have small children watching this, you might not want to let them hear it. Here. Oh, okay, this is just one short little statement he made. This is about an episode where he was at a festival in Thailand where they throw water on each other. People who have traveled might know what I'm talking about. I didn't know about this. Apparently in Japanese it's called Songkran. I'm not quite sure what the proper pronunciation is, but that's how it's written here. And people are throwing water on each other, and apparently it's still quite cold outside. And he says, "My ball sack shriveled up hard, like tiny little sweet beans." Professional writing. You know, I feel like just about anybody who says ball sack casually could be my friend. Oh yes, this was a little anecdote about some hiking tour he did in Myanmar. And the title of this little anecdote is Trekking Tour Drowning in Drugs. And he talks about how they went on this trek. I guess trekking basically means hiking. And once they kind of get away from the central city and kind of get out into the wild, the tour guide stops and just says to everybody, okay, anybody who wants to smoke weed, it's 50 bahts. And just goes off to some guy who, I guess this little farmer who grows weed, and just buys it fresh right there. Moving on to the next book. First of all, I'm going to show you this picture, just because the caption is kind of funny. There is a picture of, I think this is actually real animals. They've all been taxidermy. They've all been stuffed. You can see right here, it's a whole bunch of different animals. A lot of squirrels and stuff like that. And the caption says, "I wish I could take these back to Japan so much. I would just put them in a condom and swallow them whole." I love it. This was a brief little story that started out about how he saw a TV program from Germany about how they're really into recycling, how they separate all their garbage into like different types depending on the material it's made from. And after he talks about, you know, how these people are like, you know, really serious about it, he says, well, with 2.4 billion people in China and India combined throwing away styrofoam and plastic trays from their car window every day, the world is doomed anyway. Yes, it is. Damn cat. This is a little anecdote about a trip he took to a city called Zhuhai, and I believe it was kind of just on the border of China and Macau. I thought Macau was an island. Apparently it is just right within mainland China. And this town called Zhuhai, he says 2/3 of the shops there are for prostitution. And they call themselves barbers. And the services they offer, supposedly they say for 20 won you can get your hair washed, or for 300 won you can get more. It's all about how the girls are actually really cute and not tainted by the big city prostitution life, and they're really all just kind of from these very rural areas. If you're into that kind of thing. I am terrified about what is going to happen to me for reading this on camera. This is so awful that I honestly am scared that I could get in trouble just for saying it out loud. But had the audacity to buy Hong Kong 97. We've come this far. Here it goes. This story is called Following the Pedophile. And it is about a person named Tsujimura, it is a pseudonym, who was introduced to Kowloon Kurosawa by another friend, an unnamed friend, who goes to Cambodia, where he is, and they meet. And he has supposedly gone to Cambodia in order to take his pedophile life to the ultimate level. And he talks about how his wife knows of his pedophilic tendencies and how she helps him out by, if she sees a cute girl on the streets, she'll take a picture for him. And the story starts out basically with him saying that me and my wife are thinking about having a child, but I've been worried that if I have a girl, I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to molest her. So I've come to Cambodia in order to purge my urges and get it out of my system by having sex with an underage girl. And I've talked about this with my wife, and she's perfectly okay with it. We've come to the lowest of the lowest of the low. Leave it to Kowloon Kurosawa to give us the absolute worst in humanity. And for all you sick fucks who just thought to yourselves right now, how does it end? I have no idea. I'm not going to read it to the end. Got myself in enough trouble with this whole thing as it is. I tell you what. I have a YouTuber's challenge. If I can get 1,000 subscribers, then I will read to you the end of what happens to Kowloon Kurosawa's pedophile friend. I'll tell you what. I'll translate the whole thing into proper English, write it all out, and the first episode I do after having 1,000 subscribers will be a public reading of Following the Pedophile. You heard it here first from the Ultra Healthy Video Game Nerd. Oh God. One really cool thing though, now that we've got all that out of our system, is I just got lucky. I had no idea what was in these books. This particular book happens to have an episode about the Super Famicom disk drives that he discovered in Hong Kong. And that's pretty lucky since, you know, that's kind of the main interest about him. So I am going to show that to you. There is actually a picture inside the book of one of these. Can you see it? That is a Magicon sitting on top of a Super Famicom. This is one of the illegal disc copying machines. There were many different types. This one was called the Magicon. This is just amazing to me. I can't help but enjoy this kind of thing. The caption on the picture literally says, "This thing changed our fate." Let that sink in. This thing changed our fate. Yes, it did, Mr. Kurosawa. Yes, it did. So now you have heard some of the things that he writes about. Does this shed any light on his personality? I'm not sure, but it is his life's work. Now, I know that most of the people who are watching this video are here really just to find out how I got this. I'll tell you. I bought it on an auction. That's all. I bought it on Yahoo Auctions Japan. Does that piece of information alone give the game any more credibility or less? Not really. That's why I didn't say it in the first video. I didn't think it's that big of a deal. The seller does have a perfect score of about 900. Does that give it any more credibility? Maybe 1%. You know, and I understand that a lot of people would be skeptical about it. I mean, yeah, if you don't live in Japan, you're just thinking like it's impossible. And even if you do live in Japan, you still might think it's impossible. You know, I can understand people saying, well, I want to know a little bit more about the backstory before I'm willing to believe this. Although the people just coming out and just flat out saying, you're a swindler, you're a scam artist, screw you. That's a little intense, guys. Relax. You know, there was so much negative backlash that I actually started to doubt myself even. I asked myself, well, what if it really is a fake? So, I mailed the person who sold it to me and asked him, where did you get it? We can still contact the people on Yahoo Auctions after the transaction is over. And I had this whole speech planned out to do on video about how repros and fake games and just people trying to get over on each other isn't nearly as much of a problem in Japan as it is in the US and Europe. Or how I, as a non-native speaker of Japanese, could never have come up with the text for the back of the card. Yeah, both those things are actually completely true. But the same day I mailed him, the guy mailed me back. And I think for everybody to see that is just going to be infinitely more concise. So I'll show you. Okay guys, we are looking right now at the screen on Yahoo Auctions on which you can see the conversation I've had with the person who sold me Hong Kong 97. I have scratched out our names, of course. The person whose name starts with an R is the seller. The name that starts with an I is me. And I have just clipped off all my tabs so that you can't see what kind of terrible pornography I'm watching all the time. So it starts at the bottom. I'm going to translate it for you. Hello. About a month ago, I won this Hong Kong 97 from you. It's a little late, but I'd like to ask you how you got it. If you have some kind of reason that you can't say so, then it's fine and I'm not going to bother you. But it's really rare, so I'd like to know how you acquired it. And then the bottom part just is some pleasantries about, I'm sorry, I'm not Japanese, I can't use honorific speech very well, I'm sorry to bother you in your busy schedule. And you can see he responds, good evening. I've forgotten the name of the magazine, but at the time there was some small magazine about the size of a standard novel. And there was I'm not quite sure how to translate Toko Corner. It's kind of like, not quite letters to the editor, but it's something for kind of readers or businesses to use. So maybe you can just call it ads. There was an ad where they were selling it through the mail. You had to send in a letter in order to buy it first. So it was definitely an angler product. Angler is literally what they say in Japanese. I'm assuming that just basically means underground or black market. That was about the last thing that I expected him to say. I guess the very last thing that I expected him to say was, I am Kowloon Kurosawa, or I know him. But other than that, I definitely did not expect him to say, I bought it at the time of its release. So anyways, this is my response. I say, so you actually bought it when it came out? Thank you. It's a game surrounded in mystery, so I just really wanted to ask. Thanks a lot for getting back to me. And I figured that that was just the end of the conversation. I thought that I was closing it up. This last thing that he said, I honestly did hesitate, wonder whether I should add this in or not. It's a little too perfect. It does almost sound as if he's being prompted or as if I've just made it up. But he did mail me back on his own one more time. So I guess it would be deceitful if I didn't put it in. So he says, oh no, not at all. It's been more than 20 years, but I bought it directly from Kowloon Kurosawa. It is absolutely an authentic product, you can rest assured. The term he uses is Shoshin Shomei no Honmono. This is the strongest Japanese word that basically exists to mean genuine. So there you have it. And we are now looking at the seller's feedback screen. This has the details about the reviews he's gotten from people who have interacted with him. And as you can see, he currently has a perfect score of 910. It was about 880 when I bought the game. That was a little over a month ago. And if you look, you can see that he has 0 negative reviews, 4 neutral reviews, and then the rest are good. And you can see right here that much more than half of his transactions have been sales. And there are also a number of purchases as well. So now you've seen that the person who sold me Hong Kong 97 has an absolute perfect reputation and a pretty high feedback score. So now you know everything that I know. You know, everybody has different standards of what they consider legitimate proof. For me personally, this just about settles it. It's a real copy of Hong Kong 97. I have no doubts. I know that some people are still going to accuse me of making the whole thing up, but I feel like those are the same people who would not believe it, even if I had Kowloon Kurosawa here in my house, looking at the camera and saying, it's real. They would just accuse me of hiring a homeless person off the street and paying him to say it. But I think most people would probably agree with me at this point. Really, there's no doubt about it. It's absolutely a legitimate copy of Hong Kong 97. And I hope you're happy for me. I realize that if you've only seen the Hong Kong 97 videos and haven't looked at the rest of my channel, or even if you have watched my other videos, you might not realize it, but I've been in this game for a very long time. Back in the 32-bit era, when everybody was really excited about polygons and everybody was just playing Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil, I was at Funkoland every week buying Nintendo and Genesis games. Things that cost hundreds of dollars now, like Zombie Nation, I got for less than $10. So there aren't really any questions about my street cred as a retro gamer. I think I'm going to put Hong Kong 97 to rest for a while. That's enough about it, at least with videos. If I do get one of those disk drives for the Super Famicom, I will definitely take a video and show you what happens and show you whether it works or not. Now, I've had a lot of comments here and on other places by people who are saying floppy disks have a lifespan, and there's something called data decay. If those people are right, which I have no reason to not believe them, it's very unlikely that the game is going to be playable as it is on the floppy disk. But whatever happens, I'll take a video and show you guys. I know that there's also been a lot of people asking for scans. I will definitely do scans of the back, obviously, and probably a better one of the front and the disc at some point. I don't have a scanner right now. I have nothing that can do that, but hopefully I will have some time off work pretty soon and I will be able to get it done because it should be preserved, obviously. And thanks a lot to the people who are really excited about it and who, were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Or who are just jealous and like, you're going to be rich, goddamn you. And to the 2 or 3 people out there who made a bunch of different accounts just to accuse me of being a scam artist, I'm just going to tell you something that every real gamer already knows. Being a servant of evil will only hurt one person, and you know exactly who that is. This is the Ultra Healthy Video Game Nerd, signing off. Thank you very much to everybody who watched the video to the end. I hope you'll join me in the next episode.